Hello, everybody, and I want to welcome everybody out there, and thank you very much for joining me. I'm Emily Peyton. I'm one of your gubernatorial candidates, and I'm very happy to be here today with my partner, Tom Simon, who will talk to us about his work with Co-op Power. Very important work. Tom?
Well, thank you for having me on your show, Emily. It's great to be here.
You've been a part of something called Co-op Power, and for people who've never heard of Co-op Power, could you describe what it is and why is it called Co-op Power? What does that mean?
Okay, well, we're a multi-class, multiracial organization. We're a member-owned energy co-op. And we started 7 or 8 years ago down in the Greenfield, Massachusetts area, and have been expanding ever since. And we, let's say about 3 or 4 years ago, we actually took up the model of a decentralized organization. So we have what we call local organizing councils. Right now there's 4 local organizing councils in Massachusetts, and we have a local organizing council here in southern Vermont. And actually the Worcester, Mass area is now forming another local organizing council. And there's also a small local organizing council in upstate New York. So we are under the umbrella of the Co-op Power organization, but we sort of have our own little mini co-ops in our geographic areas.
Can you tell me about when you say it's an energy co-op? Mm-hmm. Could you be more specific? That's sort of, we hear the word energy a lot, and we hear, so could you be specific and describe what you are cooperating in?
Sure. Well, actually, there are a lot of moving pieces to Co-op Power, so it can be, a little overwhelming at first, but in broad terms, what we're doing is trying to help our members become more energy efficient, more sustainable in the use of energy. We're also working on larger community renewable energy projects to help our communities become more sustainable as well. So that's in really broad strokes what we're all about, but we have many other programs, especially in Massachusetts. We've had some business development work with helping companies to get going in energy, whether it's PV or wind or geothermal, building interior energy panels for people's windows. And we actually have 2 teams that do weatherization and insulation in Massachusetts, and they're actually starting a 3rd one in the Boston area. Up here in southern Vermont, we have, at least we feel we have enough businesses in renewable energy, and our focus is really to help them flourish and help them to find more customers and do the good work that they're doing already.
From what you said earlier, Tom, you mentioned that you really want to decentralize our energy sources, and that that you're putting your actions where your heart is, like you are the boots on the ground to do this. Could you describe the type of work that this entails for you personally, and are you compensated for this, and why you're doing it?
Mm-hmm. Well, I'm working really on a volunteer basis, as most of our members that are helping out in this effort are. We do have some paid staff that work out of a common office in Hatfield, Massachusetts, and give us a lot of support as far as record keeping and bookkeeping, etc. But as far as what myself and several other people here in southern Vermont are really focusing on outreach, education, helping people and our members really to understand more about energy, how to conserve it, how to move from fossil fuels that we've been conditioned to use over the years to more sustainable energy sources like wind, solar, geothermal, and hemp.
And
As a matter
hemp,
of
yes,
fact.
yes.
Yes.
I guess it should be noted that Tom and I are part of a bigger partnership for a company called Hempfully Green, and we're working to bring building with hemp into the awareness and use in Vermont, in this region. And would you like to talk about that in this, or should we stick with the co-op power?
Let's stick with the co-op power
Yeah.
for now. Hemp may be another show.
Yeah. So when you say you have members, is it fair to say that the idea is in collective membership you have more resources? Could you speak to that?
Well, absolutely. And the way it works is that people pay a membership to join us. It's a one-time, lifetime membership, and it's by households. Although companies can join as members as well. And the membership fees that people would pay to join us are, for the most part, used to support larger community-sized renewable energy projects. And the first big project that we've taken on is helping the Brattleboro Food Co-op to put a 30-kilowatt solar array on top of their new building that they've just constructed in Brattleboro. They had plans to put a solar array on from the very beginning of their planning, but their fundraising ran a little bit short, so they were going to have to wait. So we approached them to see if they would be interested in having us help them to be able to put a solar array on sooner rather than later. And they were very enthusiastic about that. And so we're actually going to purchase and install the system, and we'll lease it to them for 5 years. And at the end of 5 years, they'll purchase the system back from us. And then our intent is to take whatever funds that we get back from that project and roll it into other community-sized renewable energy projects here in southern Vermont.
Mm-hmm. And I would like watchers to at least know that the amount of hours that this has entailed, the amount of meetings, the amount of calling, the amount of dedication just is enormous. And I think it speaks to your dedication to the planet. And I'd like you to describe to listeners who may be concerned about the planet but feeling really helpless about why you came to do this kind of work. You know, you said you've been at it for why? You haven't actually described when you started at it, you know. And if you can maybe invite them or help them along their path to start honoring our relationship with Earth so that we can get it done.
Well, with climate change and all of the things that have been going on, it really seems very daunting, I think, for most people. And it's almost too overwhelming. And it's like, what do we do first? And, so many people end up doing nothing. But the reality is that even if we start taking very small steps, if enough of us do those small steps, it can make a big difference down the road. And so that's what we're trying to help people do. Many people don't have the funding to go out and make their home a super insulated dwelling or building, or to put expensive systems on their homes today, whether they're solar or wind. But there are things that they can do that don't cost a lot of money that can make a big impact. So that's really where we're trying to get people to start. And we have 45 very dedicated members here in southern Vermont, and we're hoping to double and triple that size in the near future, because working together we can really make a big impact. We also, the way we're structured in raising funds through memberships to support these projects, we try to make it as affordable as possible to everyone. And we realize that there are many people that don't have a lot of money. And so we have various membership levels that people can join at. And we also make it so that people can join through payment plans. So if people are interested in what we're doing and want to join us, we'll work with them, in any way that will work for them financially. Mm-hmm. Now, on the other side of the coin, we also have local businesses that are working with us, and they'll have agreed to give our members either a discount or a rebate on products or services that they offer. Mm-hmm. So we have like 6 different solar installers that will give our members a discount on an installation. Mm-hmm. And some of those installers also do wind installations and geothermal. Mm-hmm. So we can really offer people a good variety of renewable energy systems for their individual homes and businesses.
One of the projects that Co-op Power has been investing in is a biodiesel plant.
Yes.
And mm-hmm. I'm really excited about that project coming to fruition. Where are you at with that? Mm-hmm.
Well, we're actually getting very close to having the plant up and operating. And the timeline right now, I think, is to have it in operation by November of this year. And we've been working on this plant for 6 or 7 years. So it's been a long haul, but there are reasons why it's taken us this long. Biodiesel refineries that take used vegetable oil from restaurants and institutions are not commonplace. So most lending institutions are very reluctant to lend money to these projects because they are deemed to have a little bit more risk than a lot of institutions would like to take on. So we have been working on funding this strictly through our members, and being a co-op allows our members to actually make loans to Co-op Power, and then Co-op Power can turn around and reinvest those funds into renewable energy projects like the Brattleboro Food Co-op Solar Roof Project and the biodiesel project in Greenfield.
Do they ever reinvest in somebody's household project?
At this time, we haven't done that, other than investing a lot of our sweat equity into member projects. Mm-hmm. We have many volunteers like myself that are willing to work with our members and help them to start planning projects for their homes, and to give them advice and to link them up with other professional companies that can help them to get a little further mm-hmm. down the road mm-hmm. towards sustainability. Mm-hmm.
Well, I think it's beautiful that you're doing this work, and I really love it. You know that I'm working to create the kind of public banking that we need mm-hmm. to move much more rapidly towards being sustainable. Do you see us achieving the amount of sustainability we need in time with climate change? And what would you say to climate change deniers?
Well, I think if you go back, and there are always going to be some people that are skeptical about anything, and certainly, in my own opinion, we've been seeing much more fluctuations in our weather patterns. So I'm certainly a believer, but for those that aren't, I think it's really tough for anyone to deny that we have really been increasing our pollution of the planet. And so this is really a way that others that may not believe in climate change can justify in their own mind the need to start making changes and moving towards renewable energy. So just from the pollution aspect, what to do with our nuclear waste, having mercury and many other toxic substances getting into our food and water chain, as well as emissions from coal-fired plants having a detriment to the environment. And I think most of these are pretty well documented, so I think most people would have a tough time saying that, oh, we don't have any pollution that we have to worry about.
I know that there's people who do have retirement savings and who have savings. I'm not one of them, but people who have been investing in co-op power, and maybe it's a good time to reach out to those who may be seeing the stock market as not the most responsible way. But would you like to talk a little bit more for those
Well,
listeners?
that's and this is a great area because there are many people that don't feel like they have a lot of money that they can put into either their homes or larger renewable energy projects that we might be sponsoring. But yet they have retirement funds and they have IRAs. And they give them to someone else to manage and really don't think much about them. But, looking at my own individual situation of investing in 401ks and IRAs and putting them into mutual funds that have been really investing in companies that have not been doing the best that they could do for either their employees or the environment.
That's being kind. That's
Paying
being very nice.
their CEOs millions and, I don't know, maybe in some cases billions of dollars to lead them for a huge profit today, but leaving our children and our grandchildren behind to pay the bills and to really clean up some of the messes that our generation has been developing. So I think there's a large segment of our population that is starting to feel like, maybe we need to start paying back a little bit. And we really have had a generation of very inexpensive energy use, and we've been able to profit from that very handsomely, and we lead very, very good lifestyles for the most part. And so I think there are many people that are saying, maybe I'd be willing to pay a little bit more for electricity if it's generated from renewable energy sources as opposed to something that's really polluting the earth.
But what I want to give a perspective that perhaps all that free and cheap energy, where now we're seeing toxins that are creating cancers, and we're seeing children with different issues because of it. It really wasn't so free. In other words, it came with a deferred price tag. So there are people who have a retirement funds, and they can actually make a good return if they invested in co-op power. So it's not like it's like begging for them to feel socially responsible. It's also an investment that will be increase their portfolio.
Oh, absolutely. I think if you take the social return that many of these projects will yield, as well as the financial return, most people can feel really good about this type of an investment.
So like if everybody who lived in this region with retirement funds invested in co-op power so you could create net metering solar projects everywhere, then we'd move much faster. It's just a matter of people taking responsibility. And I think that's one of the themes that the reason why I'm getting into politics is about not being okay with sitting on the sidelines and saying, this party or that party or the politics, they've really screwed it up, but rather getting in with the solutions that we have. And for people to take the courage to make the change in the way that they can, instead of being pissed off at how major corporations are doing whatever or why somebody has this, those who can take their funds and get a return and do the right thing so that we are self-sufficient and we don't we don't continue to support what's morally reprehensible about being on oil.
Mm-hmm. Well, there's no question that I think people taking more responsibility for their investments and really moving away from global Wall Street investments to Main Street, and really supporting our communities and our neighbors. And this is, I think, one of the cornerstones really of moving forward. And so we're attempting to help people really understand that that option is out there, and that people can do something now, as opposed to feeling helpless, and that maybe sometime down the road they'll have an opportunity to make a difference.
So I'm going to tell everybody your phone number. I don't think we'll have it in graphics, but I'll say it slowly, and I happen to know it by heart, in case co-op power is the way you want to go with moving your what you need to do, moving yourself forward in this new paradigm. So your number is 802-380-5958, and you'll be able to reach Tom Simon by calling that number. Again, it's 380-5958, and he can initiate you into co-op power, or give you something you can do as a volunteer. So that would be lovely. But besides co-op power, you are involved in more than one energy committee. And this is a huge passion for you. Would you describe all the different sort of places that you've invested your time and passion into moving the renewable future forward?
Well, I was town energy coordinator for Marlborough for 3 or 4 years, and still try to stay in touch with the Marlborough Energy Committee, which has been really active. And I've just joined the Putney Energy Committee as a member, and they have been really active in promoting a lot of initiatives in Putney. I'm also on the board of Brattleboro Thermal Utility, which has been looking for ways to set up a district heating system for Brattleboro. I used to be president of the Wyndham Energy Group, which really was the precursor of co-op power. And the Wyndham Energy Group was started by Tim Stevenson of Post Oil Solutions. And a number of us here in southern Vermont actually gathered for a little over 3 years looking for ways that we could promote renewable, sustainable energy here in southern Vermont. And then, of course, I've done a number of things personally. I've put in wind turbines up in Marlborough, commuted to Brattleboro with an electric pickup truck for several years.
Which is now either for sale, or now you've got a very small car and have a wonderful truck for sale that actually I want them to put the batteries in so we can use. But anyways.
Yeah, unfortunately, the batteries are still expensive, so that's one area hopefully will come down in the future. But you need a good commute for an electric vehicle, a pure electric vehicle. And sometimes you have to make some sacrifices as to your routes and your time involved.
I think
sometimes you can't travel as fast as most of us would like, but probably shouldn't be traveling at those speeds. So,
and you've also supported the Sustainable Valley Group here in Bellows Falls.
Yes, that's relatively new for me. Getting involved with Gary Fox and all of the people on SVG. And I think they've got a tremendous project going here, and that's one of the investments that I have made locally, is putting some of my retirement funds into that project.
And of course, we should mention our work, a little bit of our work together in Hempfully Green. Would you describe how and why you became attracted to hemp yourself?
Well, actually, I knew very little of hemp 2 years ago, but after meeting you and traveling to England and Spain to see what they've been doing with building with hemp in Europe, have become very excited about the possibilities and potential of using industrial hemp for building residential homes and commercial buildings. And so I think it's a matter of time before that catches on here, but there are just amazing opportunities as far as limiting our energy use and really making our buildings much more healthy. And so I'm looking forward to increasing that effort as well.
And one of the wonderful things about Tom is the myriad of people he knows in almost every avenue of renewable energy, and sometimes people that you wouldn't think would come together, like Vince Luzzi, and who's a Republican, who is, we think of Republicans as people who aren't really so ready to do something as granola and crunchy granola as renewables. But in fact, and this is where I'm coming from, is that we all want to have clean water, clean air, and we all want to have energy that doesn't require our young men and women going through horrendous wickedness and vile experiences just for us to have these fossil fuels, or have these beautiful mountains removed for our coal, or have toxic radiation just so that we can turn on the lights. So this is a movement that it has breadth across all political divisions, and our job is to make it a way so that it's financially abundant, so there's prosperity in it. And I feel really honored that you work with me, and that we can share our passion as much as we can. So I'm very thankful that you've joined us today. Is there anything else you'd like to share with our listeners here?
I guess I would just leave with the thought that we really have all the technology that we need to move in a very sustainable, renewable way in the future. And for the most part, it's just the political will that we're lacking. And that will come when enough of us get together and decide that we want to have a more sustainable and renewable energy future. And so working with Co-op Power, that's one of the ways that we can do that.
Okay. Thank you, Tom. Thank you for coming here with me today, and thank you, listeners. And I want to thank our crew here, Denise and Mike, and everybody. Let's do it together. It's much more fun that way. Bye-bye for now.